This is episode 2, part 2 of Project Ungoverned, the online learning landscape. In this episode, we visit with Julie Murat from Bridge for Billions about new ways of teaching and learning online.
This is Project Ungoverned, a podcast looking at the brave new world of online education. New ways of learning, new ways of teaching, and the promise of unprecedented access to education.
The boom in new education technology has sparked a gold rush, attracting new companies, global institutions, and investors. But who creates the rules of engagement and who enforces them? Is online learning ungoverned? I'm Nicole Harkin, an award-winning writer and former good government analyst.
And I'm Dr. Kim Oakes, an education strategist specializing in EdTech and international education. Together in this 6-episode podcast series, we talk to educators, learners, visionaries, and pioneers in online education from across the globe to look at the possibilities, challenges, and governance of online learning.
Will online learning revolutionize educational access and opportunity?
Or will it accelerate a downward spiral in educational quality?
And what role will governance and related issues such as accountability, transparency, and inclusiveness play in determining the outcome? Join us as we explore the landscape of online education.
Today, we look at a second example of online non-formal education. We interviewed Julie Murat, who is based in Spain and is the COO of Bridge for Billions, with its mission to democratize access to entrepreneurship support through an online incubation program. She explained the purpose of their work.
Our mission is to democratize access to entrepreneurship support through an online incubation program where we connect entrepreneurs with mentors and have them go through an online curriculum to help them launch their venture. As a social enterprise, we see entrepreneurship as the most powerful tool for economic development for any nation. And SME creation and small enterprise creation as really a way to create jobs and have a better living for people and eventually for nations to get out of poverty. We use a lot the bridge metaphor because of our name, Bridge for Billions. So we realized that the bridge is broken, the bridge between entrepreneurs and the support they need to be successful. And it's broken because all the main support programs are usually based in big cities. And they're extremely competitive. They will accept only 10 or 15 projects per year out of hundreds of applicants. And so what we're trying to do is to make it accessible so that any entrepreneur in the world that has an idea, wants to go forward with it, to make it viable, and eventually to hire and create economic activity, will be able to do so. So our mission is really to repair that bridge between the entrepreneur and billions of growth opportunities. And we compare ourselves many times to Duolingo because what they did to democratize access to learning languages, we're trying to do for entrepreneurship education and especially early stage entrepreneurship, so incubation.
Julie went on to explain how Bridge for Billions is structured and operates.
So our legal status is we're a public benefit corporation registered in the US. It means we're a for-profit social enterprise. So we are for-profit and for impact. We charge entrepreneurs for their program. Right now, it costs $120 per month for 3 months. And we have a scholarship scheme in case price is really the main barrier for the entrepreneur to sign up. But that's not really where we sustain ourselves the most. What we realized is that actually all the actors of the entrepreneurship ecosystem, government programs, foundations, universities, incubators, accelerators themselves, they would love to be able to accept more applicants and to scale their support to more entrepreneurs, but they cannot do it because they have a limited space, a limited staff, a limited operational budget. So what we do is that we sell the platform to them as a mean for them to grow their support to more entrepreneurs, and they pay us a fee for that. So it's a software as a service model, and that's where really we finance ourselves. So universities might use the platform for their masters in entrepreneurship, or a foundation might use the platform for a women entrepreneurship program like we did recently with Coca-Cola. Right now, we've had around 30 B2B clients. And it's also quite interesting because since that organization is taking in the costs, it means the program is free of charge for the end beneficiary, the entrepreneur. So that's also a model that we keep exploring because it meets our mission and brings us the finance to keep us afloat.
Julie provided an overview of how this for-profit social enterprise program works and how it was created.
We really took a lot of frameworks that are already existing, like the Discipline Entrepreneurship by MIT, the Lean Startup, the Blue Ocean Strategy, the Business Model Canvas, and many more that many incubators and accelerators use out there. And we made it a step-by-step interactive online process with no jargon, trying to make it very accessible. And we used human-centered design to really center it around the entrepreneur's needs. We had a rough idea of how the program would look like. And right away, we started using it with entrepreneurs from different geographies, different sectors, different backgrounds, some of them in the US, in Mexico, in Ghana, and in Spain. And we really co-created it with them. So we have a 3-month online program, and it has 3 separate steps. So the first one we call the matching. So when any cohort of entrepreneurs starts, they have that matching period that lasts 2 weeks, where the entrepreneurs' projects are out there in our mentors community, and the mentor can show interest. And they will have an initial meeting to get to know each other. We provide them with an activity called the life map to break the ice and get to know each other on more of a personal level, where they basically draw their life on an A4 sheet of paper, and they can comment upon it with the other person. So once they've met with 1, 2, or 5 mentors, they both choose mentors and mentees whom they would like to work with. So they meet, they do the life map activity, and then in very concrete, practical terms, they sign a mentorship agreement if they agree to kick off the relationship. And after that matching phase, they have access to an online workspace where together, during 3 months, they will be working on every critical aspect of the business plan. So they have 8 online modules that we co-created with them. And every 10 days, they complete one of those and work on one key aspect of their business, from value proposition to growth plan, finances, and even social impact, because we help a lot of social entrepreneurs. So that's the end of the second stage. And then the third one is really the visualization of all their work. So they get what we call a visual business plan. So the platform will auto-generate a very visual document that they can use for the next stage. They can download as PDF and use to look for early stage funding, to share with business angels, or to enter more advanced programs.
So who takes part in the Bridge for Billions program, and how do you vet your mentees?
So for entrepreneurs, we don't have any limitations in terms of age range or sector or country or education level. Where we really do select them is on the stage of maturity of the business. So we help seed stage entrepreneurs, which means that they're either in the idea stage, but very, very motivated to take it to the next one, or they have an early prototype, an MVP, and they're ready to have a viable plan to take it to the market. So that's really where we discriminate in terms of stage. And then we have the language barrier. So right now we have the program in English, Spanish, and French, which is already quite a big potential market to cover. So we're open to any entrepreneur that speaks either of these languages. Now, in terms of statistics, we are based in Spain, so we do have a local network. So I would say that to date, 40% of entrepreneurs are Spanish. But the remaining 60%, we really have a huge diversity from French-speaking Sub-Saharan Africa to Latin America to North America. So very, very different profiles of entrepreneurs. So we have cohorts of entrepreneurs every 2 or 3 months. And we open a certain number of seats for the program, usually between 40 and 60. And entrepreneurs apply to the program, and we have an in-person interview with them. What we really want to be sure of is, are we what they need at that precise stage? And are they motivated enough to go through the whole program and to maintain a quality interaction with their mentor? So that's how we vet whether they're real people or not.
We discussed with Julie how the program is different from others that are out there.
So we did a whole due diligence of what's out there before starting. And what we realized is that lots of online entrepreneurship programs are very theoretical. And what we try to do is a learn by doing methodology. So they're actually working on their own ventures, not learning about a general rule. And we also realized that there are lots of platforms that offer online business mentorship, but it's based on question and answers, QA. So it assumes that the entrepreneur knows what to ask. And that's already a lot to assume because it means that the entrepreneur needs to have a certain business acumen or even business background. And we try to make it accessible to as many entrepreneurs as possible, even with a secondary education degree. And then the last factor that we took into account is really the human component. So for us, it was really important if we wanted to mimic the real life incubation experience online, that they would have a mentor that they can rely on, that knows their business, that will follow through them all along the 3 months, and to have a peer community of who are the other entrepreneurs that are going through the same journey.
How does Bridge for Billions vet and train their mentors?
So our mentors are completely volunteers, and I would say we have two typical profiles. One is people that have been entrepreneurs themselves and have that need or that they want to give back to their community and help someone that's starting their business to go through the same success that they've been through or to avoid the mistakes that maybe they made. So around 40% of our mentors are former entrepreneurs themselves. And then the remaining 60%, it's usually professionals that are highly qualified in their field, let's say web marketing or finance or agriculture, any field really. And they know that this knowledge could benefit someone getting started in that very sector, and they want to give a hand. The platform is so structured and so step by step that even someone that has never been a mentor before, after quick training from our end and thanks to the structure of the platform, will be able to follow up on his mentee's project and give critical and actionable feedback. We don't go as far as to having an interview, but they do apply through an online form. Then we go through several checks. We might, for example, check their LinkedIn profile or if they have some history online, and we accept them in the mentor community. If we're not sure about a certain profile, we will take the initiative of having a call with that person. And then every month we have a call to onboard all the new mentors. On average, we have anywhere from 10 to 30 new mentors every month. We don't see the mentor as someone that has all the answers, that knows it all, and that is going to tell the entrepreneur how to do things. We see them as someone that wants to share their experience with them, their journey, and to guide them and to give a critical and external point of view on the steps they're taking. So we call it reverse mentoring, and we really expect them to learn from each other and not only the entrepreneur to learn from the mentor.
She also explained how mentors were prepared and assessed.
So first of all, when volunteer mentors join us, they undergo a quick online training that we deliver, that we facilitate. And we really want them to get familiarized to our values as a social enterprise. So our values are empathy, always trying to understand the other person in front before challenging what they say. Initiative, so being proactive and taking action and being there to help, and also growth, not only meaning business growth, but personal growth. And then we introduce them to their role as mentors. We explain that they're another person from the team. They don't have to be actually doing the coding, the website of the other persons. They're here to guide. They're here to give an external point of view. And we introduce them to the Bridge methodology. And really, during the program, the procedure or the vetting process is really the platform, because they have on their workspace an incubation calendar. They have the 8 tools. They know when each activity is due, and that will be their guide. And upon completion of each tool, both entrepreneur and mentor will receive a survey where they can rank their learning, rank each other, flag any issues that might have raised. And that's how we can have a bird's eye view on what's happening and take action if for any reason a mentorship is not going how it should be. And actually it's been very surprising, because as of today we have more mentors than entrepreneurs. We've got 500 mentors for 400 entrepreneurs.
Julie explained the metrics they use to assess the program outcomes.
What we do measure is a bit a picture of the before after the program for the entrepreneur. So we know where they stand before from their application form, and at the end of the program we give them an end of incubation survey where we will measure their learning, how much it brought to their business, how did the relationship with the mentor go, how confident they are towards the future. And then every 6 months, we have some impact surveys that we send. And the main KPIs, impact KPIs that we want to measure is whether the business is still viable or not, if they created jobs, because if our long-term mission and our deeper why is to take whole countries out of poverty and to create economic activity, we want to measure how many jobs are created. And then we also measure our indirect impact, which is their own impact. So since many of them are social enterprise, we will ask them what are their impact KPIs. If they're into agriculture, sustainable agriculture, what will it be? If they're into education, and then we track also how well they're doing with their own impact. Another thing we measure is the number of women founders that we have in our alumni, because to talk in very rough terms, the typical entrepreneur in anyone's mind is a white male with an MBA. And we're also trying to put more diversity into the entrepreneurship ecosystem by making it more accessible. So by now we've had 400 people go through the program, and they each give us such a big amount of feedback.
We asked Julie if the entrepreneurs remain engaged with the organization or each other after the program.
So we did build that alumni community where we offer them, beyond the program, some monthly check-ins, monthly webinars, and then on a one-to-one basis, they can also get in touch with other alumni and ask for favors or help or give their services. That's one thing. But then for the mentor-mentee relationship, they have, at the end of the 3 months, a closing session where they reflect on the experience they've been through, and they decide whether they want to keep their relationship going or not, regardless of Bridge for Billions.
We then turn to discuss with Julie the governance of their program and the relationship among the participants.
For me, it really boils down to how can we have more governance with less governance, in a sense. And what I mean by that is how to have a strong vetting system in place for all the educational content that we issue, while at the same time staying very agile and able to innovate very quickly, because basically there is a triangle of stakeholders here. There is us as Bridge for Billions providing the platform and the structure, there is the mentor, and there is the entrepreneur. So all of us need to have a guarantee that the other person will keep the confidentiality and will be accountable. So between us and the mentor, we have our own privacy policy, terms and conditions, and now the new GDPR law. Same between us and the entrepreneur. But then we needed to provide a last collateral to close the triangle. So between mentors and entrepreneurs, they have that mentorship agreement. And optionally, if they really need to have a higher level of confidentiality, they can sign a non-disclosure agreement.
Finally, Julie shared with us some future challenges.
A challenge also that might come up for us in the next years is that we really want to achieve systemic change and have entrepreneurship education being more accessible to our audience. And I think to do so, we cannot do it alone. And we will want and we will need to join forces with other organizations that have the same mission, an aligned mission. And I think here it will be very interesting of how can we work hand in hand with each other instead of acting as competitors, but also how do we make that flow and make sense in terms of the content we deliver.
In summary, Julie brought out two main themes. First, there are diverse stakeholders involved, entrepreneurs, mentors, and companies as part of their business model. There is a feedback loop on quality, but as a for-profit enterprise, the governance is in the hands of the company.
And Julie posed a challenging idea: more governance with less governance. This really means more governance with less rules. The need for quality, accessibility, and ability to innovate, but without restrictions. We need to think about this emphasis on fast innovation, entrepreneurship, lean startups, but how can we build governance principles and a process into innovation and education?
In both parts of episode 2, we highlighted two online learning programs, which serve as examples of the diverse ways people are using online education.
Both programs aim to provide learning that could be directly applied in the work of the learner and result in greater impact beyond the learner to a larger group of stakeholders.
The oversight and governance varies greatly in non-formal learning. In Julie's case, assessment was handled entirely by the organization.
Some questions we want to take forward to our symposium are: what's the difference between a for-profit social enterprise and a for-profit company? Do the missions of these companies differ, and what effect does this distinction have on education?
And do we want to rethink some of the traditional measurements we use to assess educational impact? If so, which aspects need to be measured?
You can find the links, show notes, and learn about our upcoming virtual symposium on the 24th of January 2019 on our website at projectungoverned.com. If you're enjoying this podcast series, please subscribe, rate, and review Project Ungoverned on iTunes. That's it for episode 2, part 2 of the Project Ungoverned podcast. Tune in for our next episode, in which we look at global examples in online education aiming to improve access to education.
Project Ungoverned takes place within the Bosch Alumni Network, a network which consists of people who've been supported in one way or another by the Robert Bosch Stiftung. The network is coordinated by the International Alumni Center, IAC Berlin, a think and do tank for alumni communities with social impact. The IAC supports this podcast series and symposium. If you want to know more about the power of networks, visit iac-berlin.org.